Right, welcome everybody. We are here at ARC Forum with Czachorowski of Aker BP and Bill Hendricks of Cognite. Welcome. We're talking about AI in process industry, and to paraphrase Bill, how do you go from hype to value? And maybe before we get into that, maybe I'll just start with something. What are some of the core benefits of asset-heavy industry can expect from leveraging ChatGPT for generative AI type of?
Well, I think from Cognite's general point of view, our mission is to give simple access to complex industrial data. And certainly large language models and AI can take simple to a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. So if the people interacting with the data can go from having to write code to put things together to use a large language model that does that for them, that gives simpler access and then accelerates the value you can get from the data you have out there. What were your experiences been, Karen?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much in that sense. It's how much I can use these tools, these more modern tools, to make my job easier. So ChatGPT is one example, of course. So we actually created our own chatbot internally, so we can actually use our own data because of the whole confidentiality. You don't want to get your data out in ChatGPT, so we actually developed that internally. And we have many other use cases where we're working extensively on AI. We have, I think, probably one of the first out there to have a AI strategy that is actually public. It's in Aker BP's webpage, so if anybody wants to take a look. And we're working a lot with Cognite as well to explore more use cases as well. So the whole promise of LLMs is quite interesting, and it goes much further beyond just Gen AI.
Thank you for that, Karen. And I'm curious to double click a little bit about when you say we in the oil and gas industry, like your organization, who are the users? I mean, you have to be a data scientist, is it a process engineer? Who are those people?
It's actually everyone. You can use this from supply chain to geoscientists exploring whatever geodata. There's a lot of good use cases there too. There's a lot in the manufacturing side of oil and gas, which could be the platform itself. When you think of that as more of the plant that we would work on. So there's many use cases, and maintenance and other cases.
Got it. And to enable those people to use that, what are the black boxes that you have to put together to build your own, to train your own data, and not let it out in the public and so on?
Well, to start with, you cannot use AI without data, right? So your first step is, of course, getting the data. And then you need to see what quality that data is in, how does that data relate to something or anything else, and how to make that data accessible, right? So when you have many data scientists or whoever you hire to do any projects or anything, you need to make that data available, right? So it's not, where is my data? Where is my data sitting? Versus making that data available for people to actually develop these projects. And so this is more of a three-step approach to it. And data quality, of course, very much important. You cannot just have AI on top of bad data. So, but also flagging bad data to data scientists has proven to be quite productive too, right? Because we used to think about data quality as in something that is so pristine and amazing, but in reality, if you flag whatever condition that data is, you'll be surprised with these smart people can do, right? So something else comes out of it, and it's just been quite interesting to see.
So certainly we've been collecting data for decades. Data quality is still an issue in the industry. In particularly, what is it that solved that data problem for you, the data quality problem? Well,
I guess data quality is a relative concept too, right? Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily need the same level of quality across all sort of data types and so on. The type of data that a geoscientist needs versus somebody who is drilling a field is completely different, right? As a geoscientist, it doesn't really matter if your well is maybe offset by 30 meters But for the person who's actually drilling the well, that's really important. So the data quality is really, really different there. So it's the same thing, I guess, in this case, right? So, but getting this data at the right stage, well, for oil and gas, we have a lot of legacy systems, a lot of legacy data too. So it depends, again, if you have something that is brownfield, greenfield. So there's a lot of different challenges there too, the whole contextualization of data. And that's one of the reasons also that Cognite is such a great partner, because they are such an experts in this industrial data area, right?
Yeah, like an example we have with a customer in the chemicals industry is they've ingested all their data and they have it all in Cognite Data Fusion. And what that allows them to do is do things like data quality checks to say, are any of the alarm limits higher than the design? Well, that doesn't seem like it should be like that, right? Now, Cognite Data Fusion can't tell you which one's right, but it can go flag, hey, here's a list, and it gives, again, that simple access. And it's very, very difficult when you have data in silos to make those comparisons and figure that out. And so just having that access and being able to do those type of rapid checks can improve the data quality over time.
And empowering the operator for that reason, or some of the data engineer or whatever to
yeah, it's interesting. I talked to a plant director who he said, you know, we talk about all this digital transformation, and what I wanted to be able to do is just see what's the variable supposed to be versus what it is right now, whether it's a machine, vibration, a process parameter, whatever that is. And even if an operator looks at a value and says, I don't think that's within parameters, he may not have access to the system that says what it's supposed to be. And so how does that person take action to even see if they don't have login rights or whatever? And so having all that data available, still with security and everything, but now that person can go be curious and figure out if there's an issue or not.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that. Maybe from your experience going through this process with partner like Cognite, was there something that you felt that the industry still needs to go towards effectively leveraging this in the industry?
Oh, that's a very hard question to answer, I guess, because there's many things I think we don't know yet. This is a full new area, and we are learning as it goes as well. So AI itself has been a field of study for over 20 years already, and you've only seen this revolution come as soon as last year, pretty much, right? So it's taking its time, because it does take that time. So it's going to take a bit, of course, shorter, I think, now, but we're going to come into many things that we still don't know. So it's now, I think for us industry, is really try to play with it, try to find what is it exactly, what are the things that we can use it for, what we cannot use it for. The first step, well, it's when you have this new tool in your hands, you know, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So what we really need to understand now is, what is this tool, right? What is it that it can be applied to? And that tool is changing with time too. You've seen the amount of development in this thing in over 1-2 years, over the course of these years. So we still don't really know how to frame the problems that this tool can be really adapted to. So I think it's going to change a lot over the next few years. So for us, at least in Aker BP, the idea is to be front runners and start really dealing with this from the beginning, learning and understanding this as much as we can, so we can get more insights as we're going through the journey.
Thank you for that. And Bill, maybe something from the other industry.
Our field CTO, Jason, he loves to say that everybody is simultaneously a lot farther than they should be, you know, a lot farther out than they should be, and a lot farther behind than they should be, because the technology is changing so fast. You know, you're trying to make decisions, what use cases should I apply? There's no blueprint, and so you're having to iterate on that, and at the same time, the technology is going to change next week, next month, and so how do you manage that? And so it's people like Karen that are out there in the frontier making it happen.
Thanks for those insights, and maybe we'll close with one questions from both of you as you talk to multiple folks from multiple industry, you're from oil and gas. What are some of the safety concerns that leaders should be aware of?
Oh, there's many, but I think it's not too different than dealing with any other technology, really. Yeah, so all the cyber concerns, of course, all the details there, the data, the confidentiality, of course. And in this case, I think in terms of specific AIs, it's just a case of how does this technology evolve versus what you're doing with it, and so you don't see it being used for the wrong purposes. But again, that's not too different than any other technology either. So it's really researching and so on.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about safety in the process industries, that's got to be front and center because of the potential consequences of not getting that right. And one of the challenges with language models is if you train them on data, it's a statistical response that it gives you. And if you say, where did you get that data? It doesn't know. It just says, I made it out of all of this data. And so from an engineering point of view, that's, hey, I want to be able to go back and check. Now, there are ways that you can implement large language models with things like retrieval augmented generation and so forth that do give a deterministic answer that you can go and find. And so I think some of those designs, you have to think about that and say, how important is it for me to be able to go to the manual or the data and say, where did you get that, and not have a statistical response coming back?
And that's a very fair point, that if you go specifically in this case, so there's this use case that we are doing together with Cognite, and what Cognite's done for us is actually create a few indicators of quality. So with the quality of that response, so we can really see what level of potential hallucination this AI is having. So that's one point that you can try and deal with the perks of the technology itself, right? So adjusting to those things. So we know that if this data is now provided to me, it has some level of checks that is already being done. So there's a very high probability that this data is actually not a hallucination. So you have a few steps that you can take towards addressing some of these risks.
Karen, Bill, thank you for sharing the insights. And if you're at the ARC Forum, you can join the live session on Thursday morning. And if you're on the virtual audience, feel free to leverage the hashtag you see on the screen, and we'll get the experts to answer the questions.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.